Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. In this episode, I take a quick solo hike to the top of San Mateo Peak in the Cleveland National Forest. Now, I've been bumming around the Cleveland National Forest, especially in the Santa Ana Mountain Range, since I was a kid. In fact, when I got my first Jeep, it was a really cool looking red Jeep CJ5. I used to ditch school all the time and drive up into the mountains and just go do a short hike. And I had to make sure I got home in time so my parents wouldn't find out that I ditched school. In all the years hiking around here, how come I never heard of San Mateo Peak before? Well, as it turns out, there's not much really to the San Mateo Peak. It's only 3,593 feet high, and the trail to climb to the top is only about 5 miles round trip. Hardly worth the effort. Or was it? This nice short hike starts high up along the Lake Elsinore side of things, off South Main Divide Road at the Morgan Trail parking area. But instead of taking the Morgan Trail west towards Sitting Peak and the candy store, I'll be heading south this time, through the scrub brush and just a little bit of forest to the top of San Mateo Peak. According to all trails, this route is only 4.7 miles, but it climbs 961 feet along the way, giving this little trail a difficult rating. I'm assuming now because it's over 400 feet of ascent per mile, and that's enough to get you winded for sure. I read some of the trip reports, and most people complained of the incline, the slippery, overgrown trail, and the biting black flies. Well, hopefully I won't run into too much of that on today's hike. Normally before going on a hike, especially one I haven't been to before, I read all the trip logs on all trails, especially the most recent ones. I peruse a few websites on the trail and maybe even catch a few YouTube videos, just to see what I'm getting myself into. On this hike, because of its short nature, I really didn't take the time to get myself familiar with the trail. And on this hike, it kind of came back to bite me in the ass a little bit. You'll find out why later in the episode. Well, let's head up into the Cleveland National Forest to check out the trail to San Mateo Peak. Well, good morning. Today's a Tuesday, and I'm up along the South Main Divide Road in the Cleveland National Forest. And I'm at the Morgan Trailhead, and I'm going to be heading up to San Mateo Peak today. It's a hike of about 5 miles round trip. Shouldn't be too bad. It's got about 950 feet of elevation gain, and it's supposed to be a chance of drizzle and some rain. So I've got the little waterproof shell on today, and it's actually a little chilly. It's in the upper 40s, and it's a little breezy up here because just on the other side of me, on the other side of the road, is a 3,000 foot, 2,500 foot drop off down to Lake Elsinore. So the wind's blowing pretty stiff up this canyon and blowing up and over this trailhead area and going back down into Lake Elsinore. So I'm a little chilly right now, but I think once I get going down the Morgan Trail, I'll be fine. So anyway, I have to worry about rattlesnakes because they're out. It's spring, and I think I'm going to be lucky today because it's cold and overcast and a little drizzly. So I don't think I'm going to have to worry about them today, but I do have a concern for mountain lions. There's a bunch of mountain lions up in this region. And not too far from here, probably about 3 miles away from here, yesterday somebody posted a pretty good sized mountain lion track on an adjacent trail that actually runs into this trail just down the road. So they're up here, and because it's nice and quiet and ground's a little moist, I'm not going to hear all the normal sounds that I normally hear. It's going to be a pretty quiet hike today, I hope. And since I'm the only car here, looks like I got the whole place to myself. Anyway, let's go head up the Morgan Trail. It says 5.2 miles from here to the candy store, and on this side it says 2.3 to the Tanaha Falls Trail, and that's where the mountain lion was sighted. As I'm starting down the Morgan Trail, you're probably wondering, why am I going down the Morgan Trail to Tanaha Falls and the candy store? I'm going to San Mateo Peak. Well, as it turns out, they share not only the trailhead, but the first section of the trail. And the other thing I want to mention, there's some vehicular traffic behind me. That's South Main Divide Road. And on the southern end down here, there actually is some ranch homes back there. And this is the access point for them to get to Ortega Highway to head down the mountain into Lake Elsinore to get to the 15 freeway. So that's why there's so many cars. And back in the day, I'll spin around so you can see what I'm looking at. Back in the day when I was a kid, South Main Divide Road was actually a truck trail. It wasn't a paved road. It was just a dirt four-wheel drive trail. And it was paved and renamed Killen Truck Trail. And I have a feeling that since this was where Samantha Runyon's body was found, literally right on this road, I think Killen Road was probably a bad name for it, so they changed it to South Main Divide Road, and I agree with that decision. So anyway, I'm heading down the trail. Looks like I'm going to go down here to maybe a stream or a creek. You can see it's there's some oak trees down there, and it's a little greener. So then from there, I'll probably split off to the trail to San Mateo Peak and start climbing. Just one person from each party must register here. This is for the San Mateo Canyon Wilderness. Looks like, kind of hate to reach my hand down in there. You never know, it's going to be a black widow. Anyway, this is looks like the trail register. And today is the, what is today? I don't even know. I'm assuming it's the 13th. There's been nobody here today, so I'll be the first one. I'll log in. I want to know my zip code. And they also want to know my destination. Number of people in my group, 1. No dogs and no horses. All right, I guess I'm all signed in. And let's continue up that direction. You know, as we're walking down the trail today, I'm going to take notice of several things, one of which is scat that I see along the trail. That one is small and fresh, still moist. But you look at the scat over here, this scat is dried. And what you notice about this scat is it's got fur in it. That tells me right then, this is either coyote, bobcat, mountain lion. Normally coyotes' scat is long and skinny, tapered with bits of fur. That one is not. But it's not fresh, so that's a good thing. You know, as I'm walking down part of this Morgan Trail toward San Mateo Peak, I was warned that there is poison oak along this trail, and I could see that. I haven't seen any myself, but I really haven't been looking either. Been paying more attention to the surrounding brush. So hopefully at some point up here, I'll come to a section where I'll see a trail split, where one will go to the candy store and sit and peak, and then my peak off to the left will be San Mateo Peak, and I'll see a trail junction of some kind. I do remember seeing one on the map. I actually have a map, and it's actually on All Trails too, so I've got an All Trails map downloaded as well. I'll go a little farther here, and I'll check my phone to see how far away I am. Never actually used the tracking or recording feature on all trails, so maybe today will be a good day for us. It's just a short hike. You know, in the couple of episodes ago in the Sit and Peak hike that I did with Mike, I spent quite a bit of time talking about mountain lions and mountain lion attacks. And the one thing that I didn't mention is that for the most part, every victim of a mountain lion attack, they all had one thing in common. And that was the fact that they were all bent over on the trail. They weren't walking upright. They had either stopped, like Mark Reynolds had stopped to fix his flat tire. Justin Mellon had picked up a rock or a pebble along the trail, and Laura Small was playing with the tadpoles in the water. So mountain lions, for the most part, won't attack an adult standing upright, walking along the trail. And the other thing that I didn't mention, because I'm just my head in a swivel here. This is actually a really pretty area. Most of the mountain lions that were captured and killed after the fact, after they were tracked down, after they attacked a human, they had one thing in common for the most part. Not every one of them, but most of them. Normally, they had something physically wrong with them. I know one mountain lion that attacked somebody that was later tracked down and killed, had a broken jaw, and it couldn't capture and kill its own normal prey like a deer. It had a tough time. It couldn't eat it. It couldn't chomp down, couldn't bite down hard, and it had resorted to smaller, easier to catch prey. Another one that was a suspect in a mountain lion attack that was later captured and killed had a broken shoulder. Couldn't run, couldn't pounce, couldn't use its claws to grip on. So to think that you're the primary food source for a mountain lion while you're on a trail, that's not true. That's not true. For all the millions of hikers around the United States and around the world, if that were the case, there'd be a lot more attacks than there are. It's usually a combination of several things. It's usually a combination of mountain lion is ill or injured and can't capture his normal prey. So he's resorted to capturing smaller, easier to capture game for him, which is small kids and children and small adults. And there's usually some other underlying factor, like the kids were bitten down, and not that they resembled smaller game that they capture, because the mountain lions know the difference, but put them in a vulnerable position. Nobody was watching their back at the time, and it doesn't take much for a mountain lion to stock up on somebody, you know what I mean? And the other mountain lion attack that I didn't mention at all, actually two different mountain lion attacks that I didn't talk about. One was just a few years ago, 2019, in Los Penasquitos Wilderness Preserve, which is kind of Escondido, Encinitas area, inland San Diego. Group of about 8 kids between 6 and 10 years old. They were walking in a line down the trail, and a mountain lion pounced out and grabbed the kid in the middle. That's never happened before. It's usually one that's trailed off, one that's separate. But this kid, he was in the middle of the pack. And even though he was okay, he survived, but the story is kind of humorous, because when the mountain lion jumped out of the bushes and grabbed the kid, all the other kids just scattered like dust in the wind, man. Everybody just scattered, left the poor kid to himself. Evidently one of the adults that were in the group must have stepped in and saved the kid. But the other one, and we're going up a little steep spot here. The other one that I didn't mention was Iris Kenna. Iris Kenna was, I think, a mid-50-year-old college teacher from San Diego, and she was at the Cuyamaca Rancho State Park, and she was on a hike up to the peak, and she was a bird enthusiast, and she stopped along the trail at an overlook and was looking through her binoculars when a mountain lion grabbed her from behind and took her down into the brush. Fight ensued, and Iris was killed. And half hour later, a younger couple hiking up the same path, also going to Cuyamaca Peak, they saw what looked like a war zone. They said there were broken branches and blood and bits of bone and fur and clothes everywhere. And evidently poor little Iris, who was only 5'2" and weighed like 110 pounds, fought quite a while before she succumbed to her injuries. They called, that young couple ran down to the ranger station, and they got the rangers, and they went up there and they found the remains of Iris drug off into the brush, half buried in debris. They called U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they came out and set up a perimeter, and the next day they shot and killed a mountain lion. And in fact, in my sit and peek video, you'll see two guys holding a mountain lion hide. The one on the left is my buddy Dave. The one on the right is one of the teenage sons of one of my other friends, a different Mike. And the rangers actually came by our campsite and told us the story of Iris Kenna. And that was the actual hide of the mountain lion that killed Iris. How ironic is that, huh? Well, in the meantime, I'm walking through this section. I read on a couple of trip reports that this is the pretty part of the trail. Eventually we'll get to an overgrown section. We'll be up in manzanita and scrub brush, and it'll get really narrow and scratchy. That's why I'm wearing pants instead of shorts today. But anyway, this morning it's a nice and cool section of trail. I'm glad it's overcast. You know, wouldn't you know it, just as I said that, I stopped and looked. I missed the trail junction. Now I got to backtrack. Thankfully, it wasn't that far back. But I was right in the middle of my mountain lion story. I saw another little side trail that went off to the left. Looked like he was heading back toward the road. And there were no signs, no markers or anything. I just figured it was an alternate loop back to the car. Evidently that was it. So now I gotta retrace my steps a little bit. Kind of embarrassing, you know, for an experienced hiker. That's what I get, getting too involved in my mountain lion stories, I guess. Anyway, I should be back at the junction in a second. All right, well, I'm back to that trail split. Remember when I was signing in? I noticed this little path off to the right. There's no signs on it. And this is the actual trail that goes to San Mateo Peak. I'll hike this a ways and I'll check all trails one more time just to make sure I'm on the right path. In fact, actually, here's a little sign. Let's see what this says. Oh, there's a lizard. Rancho Cap. Don't know what that means. Anyway, looks like that's where we're going. You know, I did stop for a second and check my All Trails app, and now I'm good to go. I'm a little ways up the trail, finally, to San Mateo Peak. There's some nice scrub jays. There's a pair of them down there in that bush on the left of the trail. Could be heading up this way. I said this trail is narrower than the other one, and it's going to get scratchy, so I'm glad I'm wearing pants today. So far, so good. You know, as I wandered away from that dry wash, I came across this. There's a little bit of water. This must be residual from the last rain, maybe. Who knows? Maybe it just seeps down. I don't know. Good place to check for prints, though. I don't see any right now. Doesn't mean they're not here. I have to look, scout around a little bit. Well, I wonder what this is. Looks like it's been shot up quite a bit. Maybe part of a truck door, maybe, or something. That's my guess. It's down this little wash. My trail crossed over the wash. I just took a little jaunt 50 feet up the trail just to see what this was. But anyway, how did it get down here? I guess I'll never know. Well, here's some more scat I found along the trail. This one is moist, but it's not as moist as some of the other ones. But what you notice in this one is the little berries in it. You know, if you listen carefully, you can hear there's an owl. I don't see him, but I hear him. Can you hear him? He's somewhere. You know, just a few seconds ago, I was talking about the owl that I heard hooting along this trail. I take the dogs for a walk pretty much every morning, about 6 days a week. We do about 3 miles, and we do it really early in the morning, like it's still dark out. It's like 4 in the morning. Dogs love it. There's nobody out there, just us, occasional coyote. But we have a screech owl that lives in the neighborhood, and he always makes a flyby. Like we'll be walking along, and he'll swoop out of nowhere and fly low right over our heads and make a screech, and then fly off. So over the weekend, I built a owl nesting box, a screech owl nesting box, and I mounted it on our tree in the front yard. So hopefully one day, while he's out cruising around in the middle of the night, he'll find my nesting box. Be kind of cool to have a screech owl in the front yard, huh? Well, as I'm coming up the trail here, it looks like trail goes to the left. In fact, it does not. There's actually a trail sign right here. It says San Mateo Peak. So it must be up there somewhere. Can't see it from here, but we'll be heading that direction. Well, it looks like here's another trail split. Looks like the path to San Mateo Peak is going to be heading off that direction. Now there's the sign, San Mateo Peak. Well, I was thinking, according to all trails, it had 950 feet of elevation gain. And I kept thinking, where is it? I found it. The first section of trail was gorgeous. It's nice and rolling flat terrain through the forest canopy, and now I got to pay the piper, I guess. But the views are opening up a little bit. In fact, you can see the cut in the hillside behind me. That's South Main Divide Road, and right on the other side of that ridge is a 2,000-foot drop to Lake Elsinore. But in the meantime, I gotta keep climbing. Whew, working up a sweat. Now this peak right here, I don't know what peak that is, but if you look closer, it's got a flag blowing on top. Out of breath here. Don't know what that means. Check the map, I guess. But in the meantime, there's 2 other peaks in the distance. There's that one on the left, which is obviously the tallest one, and this one with a big rock outcrop on top. I'm assuming the one on the left is where we're going. Check the map. Well, as you can tell, the terrain changed once I topped off top of that little knoll, that ridge, and say goodbye to the pretty woodland riparian environment. Say hello to the chaparral. And way off on the distance over there, there's a massive house. Actually pretty cool. But I'm not that far from that flag. I'm tempted to go up there and see what that's all about. Well, I had a little bit of bushwhacking, but I made it up here. I don't really know what this is. Geocache, maybe? I don't really know. Well, this is from the top. In fact, I can actually see the Jeep down there at the Morgan Trail, and you can see main divide road as it works its way down. We're really not that far from the highway. In fact, you can see the highway right over there. So anyway, I was looking for maybe a geocache or something up here. Didn't see one. I'll have to do some research. There's some little trinkets on this thing. It says Zulu, 1909-2009, celebrating 100 years of something. Anyway, had to do some bushwhacking to get up here, so it means got to do some bushwhacking to get back down. Well, it looks like you can see our path working its way up. You can see the cut in the brush. I'm still not positive which one's the peak, the one on the right or the one on the left. Looks like it's going to the one on the right, but never know. Could be the one on the left. I guess I could pull out the map, but I'm too lazy right now. I guess I'll find out soon enough, huh? Well, I'm not too far from the peak, and I have a feeling that's the peak right there. Guess I'll know in a few minutes. I still got another, I don't know, maybe 200 feet to go. Elevation. Further than that trail-wise, but elevation-wise, to me that's all that matters. Whew, getting winded. You know, there's not that much gain to this trail, but when there is, it comes in little short squirts, you know, where you'll go up really steep for 5 minutes and then it levels out. So I guess that's a good thing. Okay, this is the third dinosaur I've seen. I'm dying to find out the meaning of the dinosaurs, why they're here, and why it's in a post that's buried. This took some work. This wasn't just a kid that, you know, stuck his dinosaur there. It looks like it's glued to the trail, to the trail marker. It's weird. You know, as I'm working my way up the peak, the trail is taking a decidedly left turn, and I'm starting to lose elevation, which is a little disturbing, but alas, I must be on the right path, as here's a rock cairn. If you don't know what a cairn is, they're rocks that are stacked usually along trails in places where you think you might be lost. So this is to help us be reminded that yes, indeed, we are on the right path. Well, if that wasn't a big tease, that peak that I was at, fairly close to, that's not it. As I continue past that rock cairn, I came to another overlook, and there's our trail going back down again. But over to the left, I can see where the trail is continuing up that direction. So that taller peak on the left, that was San Mateo. More climbing. You know, normally this is the type of terrain I absolutely hate. It's sagebrush. It's out in the open. There's no shade of any kind. And manzanita and this type of brush along the trail blocks all the wind, and it gets hot, stale, and since you're exposed, go over the bushes here, it's just miserable. But this trail isn't as narrow as some that I've been on, and I'm lucky today. Today it was supposed to rain. Daytime high is supposed to be mid 50s, 53, 55, something like that. It was 49 to the trailhead. And believe it or not, along this kind of ridge orientation, there's actually a good breeze right here. Very refreshing. Anyway, I'm getting there. I'm getting thirsty. I only brought 1 liter of water today. I was going to bring 2, but that's only a 5-mile round trip hike, you know. But I did bring another refreshment that hopefully is still cold in my pack. I'll crack that one open when we get to the top. Well, I'm definitely making up for that that nice meandering path through the forest. I'm sweating now, or glistening, as the chicks say, huh? But I'm up and almost in the cloud range now, and off to the east I can see Elsinore Valley. You can't see it from there, but that peak over there, I don't know if you can see that one. That's the one that I thought was San Mateo. And there's several false summits as well, so you'll hike up and then you'll be hiking in this, and all of a sudden you'll pop out and you think, oh, I'm at the top, and then you're not. You get there and you look down and you go downhill again, and then there's another one, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not that far now. I'm really getting close now. Honestly, I really am. So, but it is getting steep, so I'm getting hot. I probably should have taken the jacket off a while back, but it's too late now. I'll be at the top here in another 5-10 minutes, and I'll just take the jacket off and cool off, take a break. I could use a cool one, you know what I mean? You know, I've never seen so many false summits on a trail before. It's kind of a letdown. I went up that one on the rock on the left. I thought that was it. Then I worked my way up to this one. That's got to be it. That's got to be it. That's not it. And now over off on this side, I can actually see, you know, I thought that was the summit. That's not it. I can finally see Lake Elsinore. That's it down there on the bottom. You can see the main divide, South Main Divide Road going that way. So my trail goes down there and then up that. So who knows? Maybe it's over there. I guess we'll find out in another 10 minutes. You know, from that last video clip, I went downhill and I'm going back up again. And this one's pretty steep. Looks like this one could be a little loose and slippery, so I'll have to be careful here. Well, the summit of San Mateo Peak can't be much farther than that. I just looked at the map. We're getting close. And there's really nothing higher than this. I don't think there's a peak on the other side of it. But I've been wrong before today, so who knows? At least it's still a little overcast. Well, it looks like I finally topped out. I finally topped out on this one, which happens to be San Mateo Peak. And in fact, here's the sign. San Mateo Peak 3591. So that's what we're looking at. And we have pretty much no view. We did from the lower peaks. Of course, there's rocks in the way now, but I'll climb up at some point. I'll get a 360 even though you can't see anything. Well, this is my view from the top of San Mateo Peak in the clouds. Lake Elsinore is down there below. You can barely see it in the haze. And as I spin around to the right, looking south, you can see the fog blowing in. I was hoping to see a benchmark up here on top of this rock, but no luck so far. Sure, there's one here somewhere. I just got to find it. And now I'm looking west out toward the ocean, which you can't see. And I'm swinging back around toward Sitting Peak, Ortega Highway, and San Diego Peak, but you can't see that either. But you do have a pretty good view with the fog blowing in. I gotta go hunt around for my benchmark. I can't rest until I find the benchmark. Well, I made it up at the top of San Mateo Peak, and it was quite the climb. Started off nice and level through the woodland forest. It was just gorgeous down there along the Morgan Trail. And then all was good until I got about, I don't know, a little over halfway up, and I hit the really narrow single track and sagebrush, you know, chest high. And there were a few sections that were steep, but for the most part, it was mellow. It's about a 5-mile round trip from the Morgan Trailhead up to the top of San Mateo Peak and back, plus the extra half mile or so that I did when I mistakenly stayed on the Morgan Trail toward Sitting Peak and the candy store. But anyway, so I backtracked a little bit to the sign. It's just right next to that sign-in register. It's just kind of, you got to make a hard, sharp U-turn to the left to find the actual trail, and it's not marked either. So, but you'll know you're on the right path when you see the dinosaurs. There's I've seen 3 dinosaurs already today. But in the meantime, I'm up here all by myself at San Mateo Peak. The marine layer and the fog is in clouds blown in, and I'm not really going to get a good view, but it's okay. I had a view earlier when I was a little lower down, actually, and I can still see all of Lake Elsinore, so I'm happy with it. And I'd much rather be up here in the cool clouds and marine layer because there's no trees up here. So this is going to be a great spot to take a break, have my lunch, and crack a cool one. Anyway, I'll check back with you in a few minutes. Well, I made it up the top of San Mateo Peak, and behind me over here, I've got my my old Gigapower stove and my Stanley cook set, and I'm going to boil up some water and make some top ramen today for lunch. I'll see what else I got here in my little adventure box. This is my lunch box. I've been carrying this on quite a few hikes. Carry a spork, energy bar. This is from Hammer Nutrition, so if you've ever seen these before, these are really good. Some Justin's peanut butter, honey stinger, my favorite trail snack, corn nuts, and of course today's lunch, good old top ramen. But what I'm looking forward to the most is what's in here, and it's still cold for the most part. It's from Thorn Brewing, local San Diego brewery. It's called Crypt Bandit, and it's a hazy IPA, and got some cool graphics of a raccoon and, I don't know, Frankenstein or something. I'll show a close-up picture in a second. But I'm going to have this with my shrimp top ramen, and maybe afterward, maybe I'll make some coffee. I could use the hydration, and I might have put enough water in that pot to have enough for the top ramen and the coffee. We'll see. But in the meantime, it's time to crack a cool one. Let's try the hazy IPA. It's pretty good. I kind of bought this kind of by accident. I mean, I bought it on purpose, but I didn't know if it was any good or not until I got home and I looked it up on Untapped, one of the beer review sites, and it actually has a 4.87 review, so that's actually not bad. If you like hazy IPAs, it's pretty good. It'd be better if it was just a little bit colder. Anyway, my top ramen should be water should be about ready for the top ramen here in a minute. Can have my lunch on top of San Mateo Peak. Got it all to myself. Well, here's a little close-up of my Crypt Bandit and my little my stove, and it looks like the water's not quite ready to boil, but it's getting close. I did bring some of this Avalanche brand hazelnut latte. This is really good. It's got cream and sugar already in it if you have a sweet tooth like I do. And I think I'm going to put it in my cooksa. I'm going to have some coffee while I wait for my water to boil. It's getting really close. It's steaming pretty good. So in a few seconds here, I'll probably just turn that off and pour it in my this little cup here. What's nice about the Stanley cook pot, it's got this internal cup that's got a neoprene sleeve on it. You can use it to rehydrate your pasta or rehydrate any of your backpack meals, or if you want, just a big, gigantic cup of coffee. But today I've got my top ramen in there. And I'm going to pour the hot water in here, let it sit. And then, in fact, let's go ahead and do that, because the water is pretty much boiling. And this Stanley cook set's got a nice little handle on it. Got to make sure I save enough water for my coffee. I'm going to stir up my top ramen, let this sit for a few minutes. This is shrimp top ramen. This is the lid that goes with it. actually really nice. Also has a little detent that sticks up so you can grab the lid if you need to. But I'm going to try to make some coffee in my Kuxa. Kuxas normally are made out of birch. It's a Norwegian drinking vessel. And historically, they're not real big. They don't hold 12 ounces or 16 ounces. Generally, they're 6 ounces, maybe 8 ounces. So don't get one of these thinking you're going to have a 12-ounce cup of coffee, because you're not. But what most people don't know is, your standard liquid measurement. If I'm going to pour a little bit more in there. Your standard liquid measurement for a cup is 8 ounces. I don't know if you knew this, but a cup of coffee is only 6. So when you see a 12-cup pot, that's 12 6-ounce cups, not 12 8-ounce cups. Anyway, just food for thought. And this hazelnut latte is phenomenal. I got this at a Marshall's or a Ross, I think. I've never seen it before or since. And I'm not that big a fan of hazelnut, but man, this hazelnut latte, in fact, I'm going to show it to you here. The little whipped cream that's on top of this is phenomenal. Oops, just poured some of it out. That's what I get. I guess I can always add more water. But anyway, so I'm going to sit here and enjoy my hazelnut latte from Avalanche and my shrimp top ramen and my solitary views from the top of San Mateo Peak. Oh my God, this is good. I got to get this down because I got to finish my beer, because the beer is good too. Beer actually goes better with the top ramen. Oh man, definitely give my legs a rest. Some big houses down there. When I'm eating this shrimp flavored top ramen, I'm using a Uko titanium spork. As far as sporks go, I like this one. It's good for these short pots. It's not good for a big mountain house where you have to dig way down deep. For that, I have a Cedar Summit long-handled spoon, or a Tokes long-handled spoon with a smooth bowl. I don't like the titanium texture, the feel in my mouth. It's kind of a rough and abrasive. I don't know. It's just kind of icky. I don't know. Everybody else thinks the same thing. I'm not the only one. I got the titanium long-handled spoon with the smooth bowl, and I love it. But today, because I knew I didn't need it, I just brought this one because this one fits inside my little 10 adventure box. I don't see any shrimp. Sure, it's in here somewhere. Anyway, I'll take a nice good break here for about another half hour. I'll finish my beer and finish my top ramen, and then I'll start working my way back to the car. I'm a little bummed there's not a better view, but anytime you're out here, it's better than, doing chores around the house. So take advantage of it when you can. Take advantage of this cool weather too, because this could easily have been an 85-degree day and I could be baking in the sun right now, and instead I've got a hoodie on and a beanie and a cool breeze and a little bit of fog. This is nice. This is real nice. I still have yet to find a benchmark, and it looks like there's also another trail that goes that direction. I don't really know where that goes. Do some research when I get back. This is our view off toward Ortega Highway and Santiago Peak in the clouds. And San Mateo Peak is on the other side of that boulder group right there. I wonder where this goes. Let's look at the map when I get home. Way off in the distance over there is Elsinore Peak. Let me zoom in a little bit. That's the communication towers on top Elsinore Peak. You can park right off the road, and it's only a half-mile walk from the road to the summit. But it's basically a fire road with just communication towers. Not that exciting. But there are some fabulous homes, it looks like, in this area. On the other side of this is La Cresta, which is kind of near Bear Canyon, Bear Creek, over by the Santa Rosa Plateau. So anyway, nice little valley down there as well. I don't know what that is. There's a house down there. We're definitely going to have to look this up on the topographic maps and see what I come up with. Some interesting things for sure from up here. I'm right here at the car. Looks like there's a couple of vehicles here at the trailhead. Besides the Jeep, there's a red car and a white, it's like a Honda Ridgeline. So, looks like I survived my hike to San Mateo Peak. It had its moments. There were a couple of moments where it was tough. Even though it is overcast, it's kind of muggy now, so I'm definitely sweating pretty good now. But I made it back to the car, and whew, now I get a well-deserved Gatorade waiting for me. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode of the Hiking Journal, and be sure and click the like and subscribe button for future episodes of the Hiking Journal. Who knows where I'll be next? Somewhere along the trail. I'll catch you later. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Journal, my solo hike to the top of San Mateo Peak in the Cleveland National Forest. If you have any questions or comments about this or any other episode of the Journal, drop me a post in the comments section below. Oh, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on your way out so you don't miss any future episodes. On my next adventure, I hike way back into a remote section of the wilderness for a short overnight bivouac. Here I spent a nervous night alone where I have a real concern for my safety. That'll all be coming up in the next adventure of the Journal. Take care. Bye-bye.